That's going. All right. I guess we'll start up. This is the first of many podcasts, and the I guess the focus is getting the stories out of the longboard companies that started kind of the longboard craze in the early 2000s, and the process and what we went through. And this very first podcast is with Steve Hopper from Insect. And so the title is Beyond the Ride, Stories from the Crafts of Longboard Building. As an intro, Steve started Insect 2002? 2002. So
23 years ago. Wow.
I know, 23 years ago doesn't sound like that. I mean, that sounds like a long time ago, but when you think back to 2002, it's like, that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
But it was a lifetime ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago in a galaxy far away.
It did, right? It did.
2002.
2002. Okay. That's awesome. I guess you did the whole longboarding thing.
Yeah.
I guess let's start from there. Start from the beginning. What did you start skating? Was that the first hook?
Yeah, I started skating when I was a kid.
Okay.
I think I got my first board when I was 7 or 8. I'd been lobbying my parents for it for a long time. But my mom was worried about it being dangerous, whatever. But they finally relented, and I got one of those plastic freeformers from the brown one with the pointed nose and the little kicktail, and the ball bearings and the clear wheels.
I have a red one.
Okay.
Freeformer.
And my brother later got the freestyle one, which is the blue one with the blunt ends. And but before that, I wanted to skate so bad, I just took a 2x4 and cut like fake trucks.
Oh.
Put it on there so I could practice to like kick turning.
What year was that then?
That would have been, let's see, I was living in Ohio. I was probably 75 maybe.
Wow, okay.
76. Probably 76.
76, wow. That's cool.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was still in Ohio. So I lived in Ohio until I was 9. We moved to Indiana from like 9 to 12. And then Michigan from like 12 to 16. And then we moved to Seattle. Redmond. And then I moved into Seattle the next year. But yeah, Ohio.
That's where it started. The bug.
Yeah, and that, eventually, then we moved to, what did we buy? I upgraded. Where did we go? I'm trying to remember what park it was. Anyway, I got a Kryptonics pool board.
Oh, okay.
With a cheese grater, clear grip tape on top.
Yeah.
And I had some Bowens Cubic 2 wheels, and Veriflex trucks. And there were some skate parks around at that time. Like we'd go back to Ohio to visit relatives in Columbus, and we'd go to Apple Skate Park, the legendary like indoor one.
That's cool.
I forget how many pools they had, but it was like a dozen or something. Devo filmed a video there.
Perfect.
Yeah, when we moved to Michigan, so I was like middle school, high school. There was a skate park there in Kalamazoo called Cosmic Waves, and that might have been where the Kryptonics one came in.
Great 80s name for a Cosmic Waves.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it was cool because it was a skate park, but like the geometry wasn't, like they had a really good pool, but everything else was kind of like, something I think they saw out of a magazine or Skateboard or Action Now or one of those things, and sort of tried to make it look like that. So like the geometry wasn't very good, but the heart was definitely in it. But nowadays everyone's got like public skate parks, but in those days these were all private ventures, and I think none of them survived as far as I know, because I don't know how you can like charge kids $2 or $3 an hour and pay back $1 million in concrete work you had done. That's a long-term return.
Especially it's like, around now there's skate parks everywhere.
Yeah.
But so like an indoor one.
Yeah.
That's That's a hard sell.
Yeah, it was in this big warehouse, but yeah, so Cosmic Waves, they filled in the pool. Just a bulldozer came out and wrecked everything and filled the pool in. So we were like, we're gonna dig out the pool. So we went up there a couple times with just like shovels and a wheelbarrow, and like, we're never going to get this thing empty.
Chunks of concrete.
And we're going to get busted if we keep trying. So finally, we just gave up. But a friend had a half pipe in his backyard. It's kind of janky, but and then we'd skate around Western Michigan University all the time. They have a lot of fun stuff there. So
yeah, that's cool.
That's sort of the arc from the freeformer to the pool boards. The longboard thing. Then I went we moved to Washington, and I didn't know anyone who skated. Then I loaned my brother's friend, borrowed a board for a little while. He wanted to learn, and someone stole it from him. And then it's kind of like, it just kind of fell off. I didn't know anyone. I just moved into Seattle, and I just, like, nobody was doing anything like that. So for a long time, I just sort of stopped. And then we can continue on with the longboard part. Yeah,
because right, that's where, I mean, there's always going to be like, there's that gap, right? It's like,
so the skating part was there.
It was still that, you skated, you loved it.
And so I was working in, so it's been like multiple careers. I started in food. I'm back in that now. We'll touch on that a little later. But I never wanted like an office job, but then the internet happened, and I was building websites for, basically for like bars and friends' bands and stuff. I did one for like a punk rock label called Scooch Pooch. But like I was doing a website for like $100, and it's a stack of records or something. Because it wasn't like a job.
Yeah.
And then it became a job. And so I worked at a couple different places. So in 2002, in 2000, like that whole .com economy just started collapsing. I was in the Smith Tower and Pioneer Square is where my office was, and we were building websites for other companies. We managed to hang on a couple years longer, but in 2002, it's like we're gonna be done here. We're just waiting for the final word. And we finally got it one day, and we're like, well, screw it. Let's just go to the bar down the street. Went down to the Pioneer Square Saloon. And on the way there, I saw a poster for the Red Bull Skid Row Downhill Challenge, stapled to a phone pole. And I'm like, there's going to be a skateboard race right outside my building? And if you know Seattle, like, it's insane. They went from I-5 straight down Yesler to 2nd Avenue. On a hard left to another downhill and then a flat, and I think the finish line was at the next block. And I remember, like, I think Biker Sherlock was in this, Chris Chapman was in it, but I didn't know it.
You didn't know anybody then.
But there were a bunch of longboarders there, and it's like, well, hell, I just got laid off. Like, maybe I should get a longboard. I haven't skated in a long time. Like, I'm not gonna do pools. I was never very good at that stuff anyway. But I'm like, well, screw that. I got a wood shop, but like, I got tools. I know how to build stuff. Like, I'm gonna build one. So I started doing a little research, but I didn't really want to just build a big, heavy wood one. The first ones were basically that. I got some Baltic birch and built a clamping system. I was describing last night. I made a mold out of MDF, just camber, and then I made these giant all-thread 4x4 plumbing pipe clamps. And I just started building boards like that. And the only way I could get them, so they had a nice camber. And come to think of it, the first one I built was really kind of looked like the Mosquito, which was both like the rise and demise of my business. It was so popular, it almost killed me. But that general shape, it didn't have the drop through, but now that I'm thinking about that concept was part of the earlier ones. And I would just basically ride them through the neighborhood and figure out their weak points, and sometimes like their literal weak points, like they would just snap. And it's like, okay, that needs to be stiffer.
That one's not going to work.
That's not going to really fly. And so then I started experimenting with carbon fiber and fiberglass, and I was really doing a lot of research on what snowboard companies were doing. In the Magnolia neighborhood, Libtech Snowboards actually existed there. I think they're on the peninsula now, but through a friend of a friend, I used to go buy triaxial fiberglass for cash out the back door of that joint. I don't know. I don't remember your name, but I don't think they were supposed to be doing that. I just show up and they just like, hand me a garbage bag with a 12-inch roll of triax in it, and I would hand them like $50, and we just.
Where else are you going to get it though, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is like,
how am I going to get this
when
stuff
you're starting out? Like, you
like,
can't buy this stuff in small quantities.
Right.
And they had it slit, so it'd be like a 50-inch roll, it's like slit to 10 inches, or maybe they had a 60-inch roll slit to 12. I think that's what it was, but I'm just trying to experiment. Like, I don't need.
You don't need 300 feet.
I don't need 300 feet or 1,000 feet of carbon, or I need 12 feet. So fortunately, there was another shop called Fiberlay. They moved to the south end, but they were in my neighborhood in Ballard. It's mostly geared towards boat building.
You were just in the right neighborhood.
It was the right place, the right time. Like literally all of it. There was no preconceived notion that I was gonna start a skateboard company, or just like a total fluke. Just
for fun.
Yeah, so it's for fun. So I'm looking at how to laminate stuff. And I can do this. This can't be that hard. And a lot of these older guys at Fiberlay were pretty intrigued by what I was doing, and were really forthcoming with information and what to look for and what you need and what you don't. So I started doing layup like that, but they had just it was like a fabric store, except you get different carbon fibers, different types of glass, bagging film, peel ply, all this jazz. They had all the vacuum stuff, which I was curious about, but was a little reluctant to get into. Because that's got its whole own system of problems.
It's its own beast.
It's its own beast. And, but anyway, I was able to buy, 6-ounce carbon fiber twill by the yard. And so I started experimenting with that. And then I would the original layups I would do on bagging film, so it would release.
Yeah.
But you get a dull finish, and then this guy at Fiberlay is like, if you lay it up on Mylar, you get a really nice finish.
Comes out nice and pretty and shiny.
So they had Mylar, and so I started doing that, which you had to be really careful with, because if you get any crease in that at all, it's permanent. But once you got used to that, you just lay the glass, right on the Mylar, and then build your sandwich up with your wood. So it's like carbon, glass, wood, another layer of glass. Because I learned that if you don't put a layer of glass between the wood, your board's not going to last. You need the glue layer.
Yeah.
And I'd make the sandwich there, and I'd put Mylar on the top, and then I'd load it into this press and put the plywood on top, and then I would just put the plumbing pipes on and just wing nut them down until they were tight. I didn't have any way to measure the tightness or
how much force you're applying to it.
There was no torque wrench or any jazz like that. I just sort of got it where it felt right, and I was getting really good results out of that. Getting a lot of spring, and people were taking an interest, because I'd go ride them around Green Lake or something. People were like, "What the hell is that?" And I'm like, "I made it." And they're like, "You made it? Can I buy one?" And that's where it kind of started to happen. It's like, okay, I was trying to look for tech work, but it was just that job scene was just blown out. So many people got laid off. At one point I heard in Pioneer Square, 30,000 people got laid off out of .coms and early tech companies. So just in that neighborhood. So it was a bloodbath. The only people I know who landed on their feet quickly were people with database skills, and they went to Microsoft or went and worked for an insurance company or something. Those people were fine. Those people are still fine, because that ended up being the way and things went. But so I just I was not pick up a web contract here and there, just kind of enough to float on. But then I'm gonna give this a go. So I need a name, and
well, that's true. How does Insect come about?
Well, I wanted something sort of short and kind of just minimal. Like the aesthetic of the name and the logo, which I realized later some people didn't see that it was a silhouette of a dragonfly on a blade of grass. They thought it was some weird flower or something. People I'd known for years are like, "Well, it's a flower, right?" I'm like, "No." But I was kind of thinking and just reading a lot and doing research, and people were referring to the carbon fiber skins as the exoskeleton of your product. Especially true if you're using honeycomb or foam core. So I just started thinking exoskeleton is just like an insect.
Yeah.
And then I started experimenting because I'd done a lot of graphic design in the tech world. And I'm like, this looks good. I think this sounds good. It's really different. just the name, aesthetically, everything, this carbon fiber twill and this simple black, red, and white logo. And because there's skulls and fire and like the screaming hand and all that. And all that stuff's cool, but that's just not my vibe. So so I came up with a name, and then someone took a board to Greg's Green Lake Cycle, which is a bike shop on the north end of Green Lake. But at the time they had a skate shop in the back, skates and rollerblades. And someone took one in there. I don't even remember who it was exactly, and they wanted to buy 10 of them.
Oh,
so he came back and said, "Okay, I just talked to Greg's. They want 10." I'm like, "Okay, this is good because I need some money." So I built 10 and I delivered them, and they sold them in a week.
Dang. Okay.
So I was like, I gotta make some more. And then so it's like, okay, I'm gonna do a website. And at that point, it's just like, well, let's just go for it. Like, I have nothing else going on. And at the time, living in Seattle was cheap. So it wasn't like a huge, like it hadn't been discovered yet. So
like just that Seattle and cheap.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
it's hard to even believe, but I tell people, in the 90s, early 2000s, like you could work in a pizza joint and have a 1-bedroom apartment on Capitol Hill,
and you'd be good.
Yeah, you could do that. Tons of people did that. Coffee shop, pizza shop, wait tables, funky, cool neighborhood. But now, like those same apartments are like $4 or $5 grand.
Yeah, like I said, it's not a thing anymore.
Once Amazon moved downtown like that, because they were on Beacon Hill for a long time, but when that tech core moved into the middle of the town, that's when things, for better or worse, things changed fast. But anyway, at the time in Seattle, it was not an expensive place to live. So I just went for it. Built a website, and then I was telling you last night, like the second board I sold was to a dude in Iceland. The second board I sold online. To Iceland. He's like, "Can you get it here in time for our really short summer?" And I'm like, "Sure." Because that was it. I had 2 orders at that point.
But those are kind of like your first thought was like, my second order. Isn't even someone local. It's like Iceland. Like what?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like we were both at just the right place at the right time. Like I hadn't really thought of any of this, but there was sort of momentum, and certainly the Red Bull thing was pushing that, and it was just going that way. And as we know later, like skateboarding goes in cycles. It goes that way for a while,
right?
And then it goes the other way
for a while.
Usually pretty fast, and then it's dormant for a while. Then on year 20, it'll start to rise again. That's been it's a 20-year cycle in my observation. But I still see people around, but
still people out skating. It's like, I guess, really doing this is let people know kind of where it started and how because we had a blast.
Yeah, it was fun.
We had a lot of fun.
I just couldn't believe I was doing this.
Yeah, right. And you had to figure out how to start a business and how to run a business. And how to ship boards everywhere. And
shipping was always problematic.
Yeah.
Customs is very difficult. Customs in France is terrible.
Customs
in Australia was terrible.
Brazil.
I don't know did I do Brazil?
Oh,
I did one board to Brazil and it got through.
Brazil was horrible. Shipping to Brazil. We had a lot of people that were asking for stuff, but getting to Brazil was a nightmare.
In France, they'd sit on it for 6 or 8 weeks, and people would be like, "Where's my board?" I'm like, "All I know is that it's in France."
It's in France, sitting
and I guess
somewhere.
in France, there's the government postal system, but the local delivery is all private companies. Then I shipped 12 to a shop in Australia. I shipped 12 boards, and Customs sat on it, and then Customs told them they were going to have to pay some insane tariff. 70%, something insane. The guy's was like, "I can't do it." So they came back.
What?
So they went to Australia and back without ever leaving the box. Just one day it was on my doorstep again.
Because you had to eat that shipping.
I ate all the shipping. But I had orders for the rest of the board, so I could
You just shipped them back.
It's like bam, 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 bam. I had people immediately to pass them out to, so that ended up being okay. But yeah, the shipping, the rules. I mean, I was operating. I was in my garage.
Yeah, you were in your garage. You were in your garage, and it was pretty much by yourself.
Yeah, for a long time, it's just me.
Just you.
And
Yeah, and that's like, I wonder how many people, like, when they were buying boards from you, realized that you were doing it by yourself. This is a one-man show, or maybe one man and a part-time guy coming in to help, or...
Yeah, there was some, I had a couple guys that were on for a while. But, it kind of goes up and down. Yeah. It's like you need some help. And then there were guys that were just would just hang out, and they'd just eventually kind of start working, and I'd just pay them under the table when I could, and kick them a board now and then. I mean, that's
right.
That's kind of all it was. I mean, it was a 200 square foot garage behind my house, and then
half of that was that was later.
Yeah, later. Half of that ended up being a CNC machine. Right. So I made a bump out on the side. Like, I figured out where the legal line was that you could go. Measured from the center of the alley, and I sort of added this wedge on the side that I could at least like store some carbon and like move the computer to the other side and gain some space. And yeah, that's when the shop bot came in. I can't remember how long it was before I did that, but like I was telling you yesterday, it's like I was in there. Like, I'd measure that thing 100 times to make sure that thing was gonna fit, and it got there, and there was like a rock in the foundation of the garage because it was like half into the backyard was higher, so I'm in there with like a hammer and chisel, like chipping out rocks and a little bit of concrete to get this precision machine aluminum rail in there with like a 1/16 of an inch clearance on either end.
Perfectly fine.
Like,
right?
Yeah, it was fine. It was totally fine. It ended up being totally fine. But that took up, a third of the entire space.
Yeah, right.
And then, as we were talking, that's got its own whole CNC is, shall we say, not automatic.
No, it's definitely not automatic. Yeah, so it does speed things up.
It does.
But yeah, the learning curve was there, and
the vacuum systems. And, it was quite a bit, but yeah. So yeah, it just sort of happened, and I had website skills because that's what I've been doing. So I built a nice website.
Yeah, right.
I did all that. There was no real. Like, I used PayPal. What did you use?
PayPal, yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of like the only option, unless you were going to have like a full-blown merchant account, which required you doing some like, $100,000 a month in transactions. Like, $100,000 a month?
Yeah, you're like...
I haven't made $100,000 in 3 years.
No, everything was PayPal, right? It was like...
Yeah, PayPal.
It's the only way you could do it.
That was the way.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, I guess like... I remember... That first, I think it was probably an email that you'd sent me to invite me up to the event you did.
Was it the Dragonfly Jam?
I think so.
Was it at Alki?
Yeah, it was
water.
Alki on the water.
Yeah.
And that was like, it's probably the first time we'd ever contacted or talked to each other was when you got that invite, and I was like, another manufacturer, another board builder's inviting me out to his event. Right. I'm like, that was just kind of a weird, something I wasn't expecting. Yeah. I was like, am I going to be going up there and stealing his customers or? Right. But what we did was completely different from each other.
Yeah, we had really different aesthetics. Certainly, there were people that bought from both of us. But it was for different styles. I think we had more convergence later, but maybe not. But we had really distinct styles. The appeal of my board over yours was they're very different.
There was never going to be like you put our boards together and you're like,
be like, I don't know
whose is whose.
Yeah, right.
No, you definitely know the differences.
I think that was it. I learned a couple things that day.
So was that your first event that you had done?
That was either the first one or the second. I think it was the first one.
Okay.
Ken kind of organized that.
Because that was early on. I don't even know what year.
He's like, you got to have an event. I'm like, I don't have time for an event. He's like, I got it. I'm gonna go to Costco and get some hot dogs, and you know, we're gonna put some brown bags of beer, and like, fine, you got it. And it turned out great.
A couple pop-up tents.
Yeah, some pop-ups. But yeah, I'm trying to think of the early carbon fiber. Like, I had to kind of stop using carbon.
I think we're back at it.
All right.
Okay, so we went through skating. Which was, you did it for 10 years?
Almost 10.
Almost 10 years.
I think,
okay.
Yeah, I think end of 2009 is kind of like, all right, it's not gonna make it. So it went into 2010 a little bit, but that was really just kind of winding down. Trying to exit as gracefully as possible, which is very difficult.
It is, because it's like, it's that you had the passion, you had the desire, and then at some point you're like, okay, I gotta stop.
Stop.
It's not.
And I had agreed with my now ex-wife that I was going to stop and try to claw my way back into a tech job, which I ended up doing. I ended up back in it for 5 years, but it was too late for any of that. So yeah, we got divorced. It's like so much bad shit happened in such a short time. It's almost hilarious looking at it. It's like watching it happen to something else. It's some like horrible comedy. It's like, no, that was actually me.
It gets to that point where what can you do but laugh at it?
Yeah,
right.
My kids are 9 and 11. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just had to just end, and I did what I could, and I sold my shop bot to a motion board shop, and sold my press to some guys up in Linwood, north of Seattle, that were trying to make a go of something. And,
okay.
You know, so it's just like one day, like, people came over with trucks, and
everything was
the garage
gone.
is just empty. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
This is like an empty garage.
Oh.
Except for like a stack of boards.
I don't know what point it stopped.
Well, hopefully we didn't miss too much.
If not, we'll.
Anyway, this place is having some trouble. I think they thought is more of like if you build it, they will come. Like, there's more cattle in this county than there are people. Like, that's true, but where are the customers?
Yeah.
Buying these cattle, because those things they're usually not the same. A place that's good to raise large quantities of cattle generally doesn't have a ton of people around.
Yeah.
That's why it works.
Yeah, right.
So then it's like, okay, I gotta scramble for another job, and there's a company called Key Technologies right down the road here that does worldwide these elaborate like produce sorting, packing lines.
Okay.
Super incredible stuff. I had some friends working there, and they're like, we can get you in there. And then I was talking to Dwight, and he's like, well, if you go there, well, what about your butcher shop idea? And I'm like, well, that's the problem. And so we talked about it, and he's like, what about doing custom processing? Because that's really in demand. So that's where you butcher butcher a live animal.
Right.
Someone raises an animal, it's sold while it's alive. The mobile slaughter service comes, slaughters the animal at the farm it was raised on, and then they bring it to a shop where it's cut up however that person wants it. Okay. So there's a big need for that. There's 2 guys here who do that, but they want to retire. They're in their 70s. And so one of them was like, Steve, you need to consider, because I was just going to do like a smokehouse, and he said, you need to really consider doing custom cut and wrap, because I got more work that I know what to do with, and I'd like to retire at some point. And so Dwight's like, have you thought about doing custom? I'm like, yes, because custom can get going as like just a service while we build this retail operation on the back of that. And that so far that's gone really well. So anyway, I just wrote up a quick pitch over text. It was the longest text ever. And sort of pitched the idea. I said, here's what I think it's going to take. And I was wildly naive about the numbers. Boy, it was like, these was like the biggest numbers I'd ever talked about. And it was wildly off base.
You don't know what you don't know, right?
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
I talked to enough people that like, yeah, you should be able to do it for that. But that's the guys who were like ready to retire. Like, they bought their businesses in the 70s.
Yeah.
So I'm up against, like, the city hit me with all the new building codes, everything. But anyway, I pitched this idea to Dwight, and much to my delight, he said, "Let's do it." And so we found this place. And,
which we'll give a tour of at the end of this. It's a pretty awesome place.
Been working on for over 2 years now. Custom did open in November, so that was like a year and a half. And retail should open in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Right.
It's licenses, WSDA final license, city final occupancy this week.
Okay.
County health stuff. But yes, I own Hopper Specialty Meats in
Hopper Specialty Meats.
Walla Walla, and I think we're gonna show you.
Yeah, we're gonna show you. Too bad we don't have. Do you have pictures of the old building?
I can find one.
Okay, we'll put some pictures of the old building compared to the tour we're gonna do of the new building. So
yeah, it's completely transformed.
It's amazing. It is amazing space. Right now we're on the far end of the building.
Yeah.
Which is Katie's area.
Yeah. So my wife is running Goodness Botanicals, and they have their own line of products, and there's a commercial kitchen that they rent out. They will rent out. It's not quite done, but food trucks and caterers when they don't need it for their own business. So
yeah,
this is nearing completion, and let's go see it.
Let's go see it. So
my wife literally works right next
door. So as a quick recap, you went from longboards.
I did.
To back to tech.
Yeah.
To a butcher shop.
Yeah, I guess if you go, I was kind of joking with Katie the other night. It's like I went because originally I thought about becoming a chef because I've always been into food.
Okay.
So I went kind of like from food into tech, into longboards, back into tech, and now back into food. So
yeah,
hopefully that's the end of the cycle.
It's like crazy to think about like the where things take you.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It's like you had the passion for skating.
Yeah.
And it took you there.
Yeah.
And you had the passion for smoking meats for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now it's bringing you into.
It's my last stand.
The butcher shop.
I don't have any more ideas.
Which was, it's just kind of, it's one of those like thoughts like, I don't know anybody that's ever, where we're from, I don't even know if there's a butcher shop in Salem.
There used to be, I'm trying to run as traditional a shop as I can. These used to be everywhere.
And I think that's where you get a lot of people that want to go back to like knowing where their meat's coming from.
Yeah, that's precisely what I'm doing here.
Which is what people, I imagine people in this community and everywhere else is like, it's wanting to eat clean.
Yep.
And the only way you're going to eat clean is by finding a butcher shop and getting
that's right.
locally sourced meat.
Yeah, and most of the time I'll know where the animals came from.
Yeah.
And if people want to know, I can say, go out, 6 miles west, take a left. They're on that hillside there.
Yeah.
And they will stay there until they arrive here. They're not going to some horrible feedlot or some giant processor.
Yeah.
It's all done very quietly and professionally and quickly.
No.
And most of the time, an animal doesn't even know it's going to happen. So
yeah,
it's just ethical a meat system as you can have.
So as far as, I guess, running a business, the things you learned in skating, in running Insect, you still use those same, I guess, similar processes as far as how you run the business.
Yeah.
It's the same.
It's the same, yeah. And I have to resist, like we were talking about earlier, like being easily seduced by new stuff. That's harder to do with this because like meat processing equipment is crazy expensive. So like your options are like by default limited to a certain range of things. There's not a bunch of, and you can't just go make your own stuff because the WSDA, USDA won't allow you to. It all has to be like NSF rated. So there's a bunch of structure that you have to operate within, but that's been more of a blessing than a curse.
Right. That instead of having 75 options, you've got just a few.
You literally can't do that legally. I'm like, okay, fine. fine. But we can do a lot. And basically, with another machine I'm getting this summer, I'll be able to do just about anything.
So looking forward to all that. So all right, cool. So let's go do a tour. We're gonna pause things for right now. We'll go out to the front of the building and I guess do an outside quick tour, and then we'll kind of move inside.
Yep.
All right, cool. Okay, here we are. At Hopper Specialty Meats.
930 West Rose, Walla Walla, Washington.
There you go.
1 mile west of downtown.
Website.
HopperSpecialtyMeats.com.
Okay.
Actually, HopperMeats.com.
HopperMeats.com.
Lot easier to deal with.
Okay, we'll make sure that's in there. But this, you took this building from just a
gray box, no landscaping.
What was here before?
Blue Line Equipment. Originally, it was Adams Tractor, which a lot of the people who grew up in Walla Walla will know about. So it was a tractor repair place for a long time.
Okay.
And then it was like a heavy equipment dealer. And then it was empty. And it's just gray. There was no landscaping.
Just sitting.
So part of the new code was the city required us to landscape 10% of the site.
So
fortunately, my wife, as a landscape designer,
has done
this incredible job.
The landscaping looks great too. I mean, the building looks great. It's all painted.
Yeah.
Front looks awesome, nice and inviting. But yeah, all this landscape. So I guess we start down at this end.
At that end, that's sort of the processing area, the cooler.
And then we come through.
My shop ends about right here at this sign, but the landscaping
continues all the way around.
All the way out there.
Yeah,
it's
so
all generally stuff you would use in sausage, like sage and thyme.
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah, that's cool.
And it's stuff that grows really well here because it gets very hot in the summer.
Yeah, so you got.
Yeah, so this is sage in flower. All this is thyme flowering right now. There's bees all over it. It's only been here a year, and it's like lush.
Yeah, it looks great.
Settled in. So it ended up, it started off as like, oh my God, we got to do this huge landscaping project, but it looks incredible.
It does.
People actually stop and ask about the landscape. So,
all right, well,
shall we go inside?
Yeah, let's go inside.
All right. So, this is the soon-to-be open retail space. This cooler will be all smoked and cured meat.
So that's the one thing that on camera you can't smell, and it smells like smoking meat, and it just smells good.
I joke that the smell of the smokehouse is like 90% of the advertising budget.
Yeah, right. You just gotta pump it outside.
Yeah, once you've smoked a few things, it just smells like that. So this will be full of smoked sausage and jerky and ham and bacon, and this one I was talking about we'll do fresh cut, but it'll be locally raised beef and pork, lamb and goat. But we're gonna do as best we can. We're gonna butcher a steer and we're gonna retail the whole thing. We're not gonna have 1,000 steaks in the freezer.
Okay.
Like it'll be, I don't know if it'll be 1 a week, 2 a week, but we're going to attempt to sell the whole thing, all the interesting cuts.
Oh, nice.
So that's one area where you can have a lot of like creative leeway. Taking like less popular cuts and turning them into something really cool. Of course, anything you can't move, by default, go with sausage. But I think there's gonna be a lot of leeway there. So that'll be a fresh case. This will be the smoked case. This will be shelving. The shelving's on the floor. We got the wrong size shelves, so we have to fix that. My clover system arrived. Here's a it's like $700 worth of spices. And then here, this is where the fun is.
Yeah.
So this is our processing room. So yeah, this place is like 20 times bigger than it says. So you got vacuum sealers, Germany, it's a sausage stuffer, linker. It'll actually stuff them and twist them. Also it'll portion anything. Apparently you can do even liquids in it. You can portion soup if you were compelled to do that for some reason.
All right.
Left the windows because working in a cutting room that's completely sealed is pretty harsh. Keep it cold in here. It's not crazy cold, but it's 50 degrees.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, so we got an old Hobart mixer grinder to grind meat. Got this breaking saw to break down the primals to break it into primals and subprimals. And you got the rail above here.
Yeah, the railing
Which
system.
leads into the carcass cooler. Warning: there's dead animals in here.
Yeah, warning. Here's our warning.
So I've got some hams grinding here. Got lugs over here. This is a bowl we're doing this week. Got a steer back here. Got two more. Another steer on that rail. 2 pigs. A goat. 2 more pigs. Here we got 3 lambs and 6 pigs, 3 of which we're keeping for in-house to use. So yeah, this is the drip cooler. So when the mobile slaughter guy comes, the carcasses are still hot. So they go in here. It has its own evaporator, so we keep the humidity out of here. So that's the cooler. Yeah, it's pretty chilly in here.
Yeah, it's cold.
So yeah, this is all built. We designed this, worked with a company in Wisconsin. The entire thing, including the ceiling, came on a flatbed truck. You just snap it together.
Whoa, dang.
A little more complicated now, but not much.
Yeah.
There's the walk-in, which is attached to the other part.
This is.
You got a smoke truck here.
Okay, the backside. Yeah.
Ham and bacon grinding right here.
Okay.
So bacon's in for 7 days. So that's sodium nitrite, and sugar, and salt, water, and a couple other things. And got a loading area here. So carcasses get loaded out in the back. Onto this here.
So the rail.
Hoist. We drop the carcasses onto these trolleys here. We have a little bridge spanner so you don't end up with meat on the floor. Then you get those rolled inside and you can close the door if you need to. We have a rail scale, which is set to the tare for there's a 5 pounds a piece. And then we take notes for beef. There's a whole bunch of state documentation and everything else. You just need the weight. And then the cut and wrap fee is based on the weight on the rail. So yeah, so those go into the drip cooler, which you just saw. And then over here is our jerky slicer, which is an awesome machine, but it is right here.
That's it. That's the
Yeah,
machine.
This is Hildegard. I believe that old big German meat machine should have German grandma names. So this is from Germany. It's called a 500 pounder. It's a model 1650. It is fully digitally controlled. It will text me if something is going wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh, nice.
I got a text from Hildegard Verschmacher, which means sausage maker. Anyway, this smells amazing. We did some ribs in here yesterday and then a ton of smoked sausage the day before. God, that smells really good.
It does smell really good.
And over here, just to kind of show you, there's a bunch of sausage ran this week. So it's like Jagerwurst. They all look kind of same, but there's smoked bratwurst,
Okay.
Cabanassi, andouille. So this is kind of like it's going out as favors to various people. We're not allowed to sell this yet, but all the contractors and people helped us out.
Help. Yeah. No.
Give them a little something nice. Because this was a huge amount of work, like this beam,
Yeah.
all this stuff. This was an empty box. We made this bump out for the smokehouse, but the only reason they let us do that is because there used to be a garage door here. It had been framed in,
Okay.
but otherwise we would be altering the envelope of the building.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we're not going there.
Can't do that. Yeah.
Because this was a door at one point, they let us do this bump out. And so there's room and there's power. A second smokehouse could go there. Getting a bowl cutter from Germany sometime this summer. But that's a pretty big machine.
Or where's that going?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
Probably in there.
In the.
Just for cleanup purposes, because that room gets hosed down, soap, sanitized, top to bottom, every day, period.
Okay.
This, I'd like to try to keep the hosing down out of this room as much as possible. So most of the stuff is on casters. Smokehouse, obviously not. But that thing weighs, I think it weighs like 2,000 pounds.
You're not moving it.
That is not moving. It's like, it's permanently attached to the building. There's a water line, there's air compressor, there's a condenser up on the roof out back, so you can cold smoke in this.
Oh, okay.
I can set it to like 45 degrees to smoke for 3 days if I wanted to.
Oh.
So it actually has refrigeration coils.
Wow.
And what else? It's a huge amount of power, 208 volt, 3-phase, 92 amps. It's nuts.
That's a lot of power.
But it does a perfect job. Kara is the guys that sell this stuff in the U.S. are awesome. Like, it's the best customer service I have ever had.
Oh, that's cool. So this is the question I asked you earlier, but it was like, what does it use for the smoke? And I didn't know if it was pellets or chips or but so this is pretty cool though. That's just
so the smoke generator in the door. So here's the burner down here, and that's the intake. Or the Rauschengang. It is all in German. But yeah, it's a mixture of apple and hickory, and it comes in this sort of flat, like little rectangles of sawdust. And it's funny because we live in like the land of infinite apple wood.
Oh, and you're not using apple wood.
You're not allowed to use, it has to be sourced from like a USDA approved.
Okay.
Like, there's so many apple orchards around here. Cherries too. I mean, I could literally.
You could just go trim some limbs off and.
Apple. But I'm not allowed to use it, so we have to buy bags of it. But it's a blend of apple and hickory. Apple because it's a little sweet. Hickory because it's got a little bit of a bang.
Okay.
And so yeah, this thing, I love it. It's super reliable. It's efficient. Like we could do bacon in about 4 hours.
Oh, okay.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
Did ribs yesterday in about 4 hours. Sausage.
So you can control the heat too. Like you could bring your heat level up.
Yeah.
In the whole process too.
Yeah. Actually, want to see it?
Yeah.
Let's turn this on. So the air compressor drives all the baffles inside, so a lot of the mechanical stuff is driven by air.
Oh, okay.
This system allows you to buy what's called an air tank. So you can tag on extra to make a bigger tank.
Make a bigger tank, yeah.
Which works pretty well. Probably going to give you an error, say there's not enough air.
Pressure yet? Oh, you got the signs. Screen's turned on.
The screen's on. Kara is unlocking the system up. So apparently this is Windows CE on a tablet. You can access it from a laptop.
Oh.
It's going to beep here in a minute. Saying, hey, you don't have enough air pressure. That will clear itself. It's probably going to send me a text.
Hey, well, it's good that you stay informed, and especially when you have a bunch of meat in there going.
There you go. Early guard first boxer. Smokehouse error cleared. So it's loading now, and this will do data logging for everything. Temperature, humidity, whatever you want. Let's say it's like ham and bacon. So there's a probe inside that goes in the meat. So it's constantly measuring your temperature inside the meat against the unit itself. And so everything is based on the temperature inside the meat. So you can see here, it's trying to drive it to 160, but it's tracking relative humidity. On this page, it'll go to the check mark. So the initial phase will steam cook it to 130, and then it will move on to a drying phase. So this is really helpful because a lot of smoked meat, if it's wet,
the smoke won't stick to it, or it'll look kind of splotchy white. If it's too dry, it won't stick to it either.
Okay.
So you want it to be kind of tacky. And usually that involves like letting it hang in a refrigerator overnight.
Okay.
This, of course, because it's super fancy, will actually have a drying cycle where it just blows warm air on it.
And it gets it to the right
It gets it where it
point.
needs to be, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So there's a drying stage and then smoke. So it's like 20 minutes of smoke, and it'll dry it again. You can program this to do whatever you want. So it'll go between smoking and drying, and then a final cook to make sure it reaches full lethality.
So I guess like the big thing we were talking about earlier was that for you to be able to sell at retail, you have to have a recipe, and that you have to follow that recipe, which is part of how long it smokes for and dries and all that stuff for you to be able to sell it.
It's called a hassle plan. I have to have one for every single thing I make. Now, granted, most of them are going to be pretty similar, except for the spices will be different from sausage to sausage. But I have to have a fully documented plan of how I make everything. What I'm going to do if something goes wrong. It's the critical control point, where things like might get too hot, or they might, something contaminated. So all this stuff came out of the Jack in the Box E. coli crap in the 90s, where somebody decided that they didn't need to take their patty. There was the one on Capitol Hill in Seattle, actually.
Was one
of them?
Was one of them?
So they weren't gonna cook the meat to a certain temperature. They were supposed to. They decided that they weren't going to like save a few bucks or whatever, and a bunch of people died, which is horrible.
Yeah, that's
so
bad.
the USDA came up with this whole hazard analysis critical control point to prevent things like this happening in the future. What that means in real life for a guy like me is everything I do has to be documented. Everything, including like how you take the garbage out. Like if I tell an employee, take the garbage, put it in the dumpster, like that actually
has to be written out.
It has to be written out that I'm going to tell them that, and they have to initial it that I did tell them that. It's stuff like that. So it's really, really tedious, but ultimately you want a safe product. So you have your plan that gets approved by, depends, county health or the USDA. Then you just follow that, and you should be good. But you just follow it every time. So what you can do here is you can program all that in, so there's no guesswork.
Yeah.
I know that baking is going to take about 4 hours, but it's done when it's done because it's only measuring the probe. So there's no like, okay, in 4 hours it's going to be done and I take it out and it's done. No, it's entirely based on what's happening right here.
Right, that probe,
And the humidity controls the humidity. It's all data logged. So if an inspector were to ever ask, hey, on March 7th at 3 p.m. while you were running this, what was the relative humidity and temperature?
No, you have it.
So it's fully plotted. You can even plot it on here if you want. So yeah, I'm gonna learn more about it. They set it up. The guy came out to commission it, get it all running, and basically put all the normal stuff I want in there. But like I realized I want a smoked sausage cycle that'll have a heavier smoke for certain ones. So I'll be able to go in and duplicate that program and then change the second one to make it. So I want it to smoke for an hour instead of a half hour. But it's all controlled on and off. And it beats when it's done, and it's amazing.
It's cool.
So
it's cool.
Is that yours?
Yeah, it's empty.
That's my dry curing chamber that I built a while ago that the county is gonna let me use. So I modified this whole refrigerator.
Yeah, I remember in one of our phone calls back and forth, you had sent me pictures of this. Yeah.
So I've done a prosciutto in here, 16 months. Could have been less, but everyone said
that's a long time.
A lot old Italian men online said the longer you go, the better it tastes. I'm like, well, I've gone 12. Like now I'm like, how much more?
What's a few more months?
The first month, I'm like checking it every single day. That's why I put this. It says everything is gonna be fine. Just to remind myself to not obsess. Like we got a long time, but basically I built this box with some controllers so that the cooling system is plugged into the thermometer, and then there's a humidifier and a dehumidifier. These are the same, they're just in different modes. So if the humidity is too low, this fine mist humidifier will bring it up. If humidity goes too high, computer fans will kick on and blow out the excess moist air and pull in dry air from the outside. There's little dimmer switches on here so you control the fan speed.
Yeah, it's cool.
And it works great. And County Health, for all how difficult they are, they said, "Are you going to make salami?" And I'm like, "I'd love to. I just assumed this was going to be like a nightmare of paperwork." Because I know shops that have gone through in Seattle that went through like 2 years trying to get a variance to do that, even just a small one. So I just figured it was out of the question. They're like, "Oh no, as long as you have ass," I'm like, "I'm fully supporting." I said, "Can I use this thing I built?" And they're like, "Sure." So sometimes you get lucky.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, we can start there. You can probably fit. I bet I can get 100 pounds in there.
Okay, yeah.
Kind of artfully arranged, thin salami. And we'll start there.
Yeah.
Let's test the market, see what people like.
I'm excited. I'm buying some salami from you when you get it done.
I know. Here's some customers. These are, take all the weights on a whiteboard when they come in.
Yeah.
Here's the machine. I want $1 grand for this. So this thing's pretty big. It's a K&G Vetter bolt chopper, which will let me make emulsified sausages like
So you can do like bologna, hot dogs.
We can do hot dogs, the world's favorite sausage.
I'm like, yeah. Do you? Yeah. Would you do hot dogs? Is that even a?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
I talked to a guy in Utah who he's got a way to do it on a mixer grinder. It's pretty tedious, but he said he sells a ton of them.
Okay.
And it
Yeah.
lets you excess fat, because there's a lot of fat in them.
Yeah.
And excess stuff that you're not able to move is prime stuff to make
For
a hot
hot
dog
dog.
out of. Plus you can do bockwurst and vice versa, all these.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can do all kinds of things. He'll
So
chop vegetables too. He'll chop cheese.
Could have
You want to
a
make a coleslaw? You just throw some cabbages and carrots in there.
done,
Done. Yeah.
and then you could put them in a tube and make them into
Yeah.
coleslaw sausages.
Coleslaw sausages. Yeah. Here's a bacon slicer I'm hoping to get. Right now we're slicing finished bacon on a deli slicer.
Okay.
That's pretty slow.
Yeah.
One. Fortunately, I got another guy doing it now, so I don't have to do it all myself. But I mean, slicing bacon by hand, like if we did like 20 slabs one day, 20 pork bellies, and it took 2 of us almost 6 hours to
Wow.
get it packed.
Okay.
This thing, you just put you freeze it, and you put the whole belly in one end, and it's got the terrifying looking blades just swinging in there, and it'll cut a whole belly in under 20 seconds. At whatever width you want, it just shoves through the blade.
Wow.
And they're all still in order. So like the pork belly is still
It still comes out
still
as
looks like a pork belly. It's just sliced, so it's not all over the place because people have gotten accustomed to getting bacon. It's all like neatly fanned
Fancy,
out, lined
yeah.
up, and
Yeah.
all consecutive pieces.
This is just be
That's really hard to do by hand. It's not hard. It's just super time consuming.
right.
So
Yeah.
hopefully that'll be in the future. But again, it's like, where's it gonna go? We'll figure that out.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Now this, man.
Big freezer under here.
Oh, that's right. We went in the freezer earlier. This is cold.
It's a -5 right now. It can go to -20. Yeah, it's a little brisk. And we got a door to the alley so we can load out for custom orders.
Okay.
And
Yeah, it's
by
cool.
the end of the week, this will be pretty full.
Pretty full. Nice.
So yeah, I think that's it.
All right.
Upstairs if you want, but not really anything to see.
Yeah, nothing up really upstairs, but yeah.
It's
So
kind of like the catch-all storage area at the moment.
that's there we go. We went from
Yeah.
longboards to butcher shop.
Yes.
Super excited for the retail side to open. I will
it should
definitely
be,
be ordering some sausage, some meats from here.
Yeah, we'll definitely be sending you some. Yeah, this should be open for first week of June.
First week of June, not much. That's
Couple weeks.
That's pretty
It's all-
close.
It's all just paperwork at this point.
Okay.
Like literally, but yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I'm glad you came out to Walla Walla.
I am
We've talked about this forever.
we have been talking about it forever, and just I just had to
you're
just
like, let's
do
just
it.
do it.
Let's just do it, right?
Oh,
That's how it works,
Yeah,
right? If you
let's do
don't, you can talk about it
Yeah.
forever, but you just gotta do it.
it's been a hell of a lot of fun. And,
Yeah.
we're gonna go skate.
Yeah. We'll get some footage
Which I
of.
haven't done in
We'll
a
get some
long
footage of a
time.
little skating. Steve might be a little rusty,
I'm a
but,
lot rusty, but-
we'll get him back on a board.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll take that back up in the parking lot.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
We got like 3 hot spots. I do have a lot of bearings.
Oh yeah, that's the start.